ready? Okay, Gary, Mike, you're good. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the Coupeville School District Board of Directors regular meeting for Thursday, August 27th. Before we do our adoption of the agenda, I would like to wish our board director, Allison Pereira, happy birthday, which is today. And I just would like to thank you for your awesome service and for serving our school district. Please rise and join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just as a reminder, this meeting will be recorded and available on the district's YouTube channel and website. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Sorry.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. We like to start our meeting by reading our district land acknowledgement and our district equity statement. And I have two amazing volunteers who are going to do that for us this evening. And we're going to start with our student board rep, Lindy Sylvester. She's going to read the Coupeville School District land acknowledgement statement.
Coupeville schools are located on the ancestral lands of the Lower Skagit people. For thousands of years, Coast Salish tribes have stewarded these lands, waterways, plants, and animals. We pay respect to the elders past, present, and emerging, for they hold the memories, traditions, and culture of their people across the nation. Coupeville schools are committed to educating students, staff, and the community about this long history as we honor and acknowledge the continued presence of the Swinomish Indian tribal community and all other indigenous peoples.
Okay. I'm gonna read our Coupeville School District equity statement.
The Coupeville School District is unequivocally committed to providing a safe, equitable, and inclusive working and learning community for all. Whether about race, religion, language, immigration status, culture, sexual orientation, gender identity, class, ability, or a combination of these, all students deserve to be respected for who they are and acknowledged for the strengths they bring to our learning community.
Thank you so much, which brings us to the next item on the agenda, which is the oath of office for our newest student board rep, Marin Winger. And during our, I wrote it down here, May board meeting, we hosted interviews and applications for our position of student board rep. So when we brought student board reps on last year, we wanted to have two student reps, one who would serve 2 terms as a junior, and then a newest junior who will serve 2 terms, 2 years in the future. So thank you for joining us. I do want to share a little bit about your activities that you're involved in. So Marin is a National Honor Society student inducted as a sophomore. She serves on ASB. She's played basketball, track, and several seasons of cheer, lots of letters mixed in with that. She has been a student representative on the Coupeville School District Facility Task Force Committee, which has been very helpful to have student voice in those discussions. She has had several jobs, Scenic Isle Farm and Rat Street Grill, whom I saw the other night. She has done 4-H team leadership and the Washington State Trust for Historic Preservation Youth Heritage Project, along with pre-college programs for sports medicine. And she serves on the Leo's Club still. She's very busy. And we're going to take more of your time. So without further ado, let's do our oath of office and bring your paper, and we're going to go to the front. Ready? Okay, so I state your name, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of a student board member for the Coupeville School District Board of Directors.
I, Marin Winger, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of a student board member for the Coupeville School District Board of Directors.
I pledge to represent the interests of all students uphold the values of equity, inclusion, and respect, and work to support an environment of academic excellence and well-being for every student in the district.
I pledge to represent the interests of all students, uphold the values of equity, inclusion, and respect, and work to support an environment of academic excellence and well-being for every student in the district.
I will make decisions based on the best interests of the student body, listen thoughtfully to my peers, and act with integrity and accountability in all matters concerning the educational system.
I will make decisions based on the best interests of the student body, listen thoughtfully to my peers, and act with integrity and accountability in all matters concerning the educational system.
I'll comply with all applicable rules, laws, and regulations set forth by the state of Washington, the school district, and the board of directors, and will continually strive to ensure that my actions reflect the highest standard of ethical conduct.
I will comply with all applicable rules, laws, and regulations set forth by the state of Washington, the school district, and the board of directors, and will continually strive to ensure that my actions reflect the highest standard of ethical conduct.
I take this oath freely, and I am committed to serving to the best of my ability in the role of student board member.
I take this oath freely, and I am committed to serving to the best of my ability in the role of a student board member.
Congratulations. Well, we had our summer meeting and did training for the student board member position. And again, that's just a position that we want to continue to grow in how to increase our student voice. And thank you both for your time that you spend listening and learning, and also being a voice for other students. So thank you. All right, we'll move on to presentations, and we'll start our first presentation for coaches and club appreciation. I'll turn it to Superintendent Leatherwood to introduce our presenters.
All right, I'm going to bring up our athletic director, Willie Smith, our principal at the middle school, high school, Becky Kays. And then after they're done, we're going to bring up our new principal from the elementary, Lisa Ferguson.
Hi, for those that know, I'm first year athletic director, so a little nervous.
Is that
Haven't
is that
done this
microphone
before.
on?
What's that?
Is that microphone on?
This one on?
No.
Do I-
Got it. Okay.
All right. It's my distinct honor to recognize this, who has been a stalwart of our coaching staff. She's been part of our coaching staff for a really long time. She started the middle school cross country program, and then moved up into the high school level. And every year, program is growing, and that is because she puts her heart and soul. She runs camps in the summer. She runs with them, which I think is weird. I wouldn't say that. Football part, but and she is unbelievably enthusiastic to cross country. If you go out and watch her coach, she is. I've never seen her angry. I've never seen a sneer on her face. And her kids absolutely adore her. Unbelievable well for her. Last year, she took our kids, the boys, went to the big Pride District meet and took the district title. Now, the first time in 42 years. So, and the most of the teams there are schools that come on. So it's a massive. So I'm super excited to have her. She is now become senior coaches, and that just means we coach long, you know. So Elizabeth.
So tonight, good evening, on the club side of honoring our clubs and coaches and appreciating all of the extra effort that they put in. I will be honoring someone who is in charge of our Leo's Club, Ms. Megan Austin. She, if you know her, she works extremely hard. She puts in a lot of time and effort with her students, with the community. She weaves it in her instruction. She has high expectations, and she really does exemplify what it means to be a strong community member. And she really supports everyone in that respect. I can't even, this doesn't even begin to show appreciation for everything that she does for our community. And so I'm just very appreciative for her. Thankfully, she is off on a weekend to enjoy her last couple of days before she comes back for break. So she was unable to be here, but I did inform her, and we are, Megan, if you're listening, we're so happy for you, and we just really appreciate you. Thank you.
I'd like to bring up our newest principal at the elementary, Miss Ferguson, who will be also presenting an appreciation award.
Hey, everyone. Being new, I learned from other people what a great job that Grace Castle has done with the drama club. And it just takes so much work to do a production. If any of you have ever been involved in drama, it's a lot of work. And I've heard that she's done great things, and I am so excited to see what happens this year. And she's already said, yes, she is doing it this year. So I would love to call her up and appreciate her in front of everyone to say thank you for all your hard work. And again, I can't wait to see what we're going to do.
Thank you so much for taking the time to honor our staff who do work very hard. I'd like to invite our Coupeville Education Association for a presentation this evening also.
Good evening. Oh, okay. Good evening. I'm Katya Williford, and standing up here with me is Brett Casey. We are the Coupeville Education Association co-presidents. As August comes to a close, educators all around the district are preparing to welcome back our students and look forward to another year, though it goes without saying that there is some apprehension about what lies ahead. The last 2 years have been some of the most turbulent and uncertain years we've had in quite a long time. Many of us veteran teachers cannot even remember more turbulent and uncertain times. Coupeville is blessed with an eclectic, well-versed teaching staff from kindergarten to 22, from PE to art to CTE, across all ranges of special education, even those who provide extracurricular enrichment opportunities. We love our jobs, we love our kids, and we love Coupeville. But it's possible to love what you do, who you surround yourself with, and where you live and work, and still be anxious, uncertain, and even fearful of what lies ahead. Last spring's climate survey put numbers to what staff have been experiencing for some time. That district leadership rarely seeks input before decisions are made, that those decisions get made without staff input at every level of district governance, and that a meaningful number of staff are modifying their behavior out of fear of retaliation. These are not abstractions. They describe the daily emotional and working conditions of the people responsible for your students' education. As we begin our year looking at classroom-based student growth goals, building level data on achievement, and district-wide programs such as UDL, it is important to recognize that one of the key indicators of student success is teacher morale. In a study conducted by Dr. Uta Kulzman, published in the Journal of Educational Psychology, Kulzman notes that teacher emotional exhaustion is not merely a personal or working conditions issue, but an active factor shaping the instructional environment and student learning. Staff morale is not a perk or a line item luxury. It is the emotional thermostat of the entire building. Now, it's not our intention to stand up here and tell you what you should already know. Coupeville School District has a morale problem. Instead, we want to provide you with a few actionable steps the district can take from the get-go to promote improved staff morale. As we move into September, we would like the district to turn its attention to how it communicates with its staff, transparent and open. It should not come as a surprise that teachers like to know things. In fact, teachers can be summarized with a school-appropriate slant on Tyrion Lannister's favorite line, "I teach and I know things." The best way to ensure your teachers know the things they need to know is to ensure communication is transparent. Finding the basic information we need to do our job should not be an uphill battle. Now, we recognize that platforms like S'more serve a wonderful purpose for community outreach. They are visually engaging, easy for families to read, and translate into multiple languages for our parents and guardians. But what works for family newsletters do not work for internal district operations. As the district has become more reliant on S'more for staff communications, teachers can no longer dig into their emails to quickly search or in-text critical directives. Instead, we are tasked with saving, printing, and building our own archives just to track down operational deadlines, policy changes, and provisions required within our collective bargaining agreement. Which should take 5 seconds in a search bar now creates an unnecessary workload burden for an already taxed staff. We've requested that critical information and information required by our CBA be sent in plain text emails that can be easily searched and indexed within our Google Mail system. When we were told that that was not feasible, we countered that request with once more restating that plain text communication searchable within Google Mail is vitally important. We're still waiting a response from the district on our follow-up request for supplemental emails alongside district newsletters, at least when it comes to vital information that should be easy and quickly accessible. This is a clear example of how communication remains murky and hard to find weeks or months later when information is needed most. There should never be unnecessary barriers to accessing information, and unfortunately, barriers have been built all around teachers due to these communication practices. Another important component of communication is to be open. Open communication requires a two-way feedback loop and dedicated follow-through. As new policies and procedures roll out across the district, every level of leadership should not just be open to feedback, but create a routine of publishing feedback and explaining what actions will or won't be taken. When our feedback disappears into the void, we face increased burnout and dissatisfaction. After all, we put in the time to be thoughtful with our feedback, and nothing tangible came from it. For example, we had been invited last year to fill out an anonymous survey from district leadership, and the results of those surveys were never published, nor were any changes attributed to them. So into the void, the feedback went. And we must move past dismissing staff concerns with boilerplate explanations about how small districts operate, or broad assumptions about our history. Many of your teachers have worked primarily in small school districts with a significant percentage teaching only here in Coupeville. It's time to leverage opportunities for mutual education on how it has worked in Coupeville, what might be preventing it from continuing to work that way, and to move towards collaborative efforts towards solutions. That means leaders opening their door genuinely to listen to Coupeville veterans about past procedures and practices before sudden decisions are made without vital institutional knowledge. Because in case you've forgotten, we teach and we know things. We have provided you with a lot of information tonight, so now we're going to leave you with some inspiration. Frances Hesselbein tells us that culture does not change because we desire to change it. Culture changes when the organization is transformed. The culture reflects the realities of the people working together every day. Tonight, this room is full of teachers, other district staff, parents, students who have chosen to be here in Coupeville. Some of us have chosen to be here year after year, hardship after hardship. Tonight is when this district can start with how it talks to, listens to, and supports its staff. It can choose transparency over barriers and open, informed dialogue before decisions are made. When the district changes how it communicates, that will be the first genuine step towards improving school climate and culture. One that will have lasting impact on our staff and our students. Thank you.
I do have a question for you.
Sure.
So we use S'more for board communications, and I was like, I can search my emails through them. Like, how come that isn't?
So if I want to look up when we were supposed to return to school,
Yeah.
I can't put return to school dates, in-service dates. then the search bar, and it gives me the staff newsletter.
Is that because your s'more isn't embedded into your email?
Our s'mores are not embedded into our emails.
Would that be a suitable, like, workaround? Cause I can search my s'mores that are embedded.
We have not been ever sent a s'more newsletter as an embedded email. That would be an interesting way to approach it. That would also solve some of the concerns that s'more can be edited after it's been sent, which creates a little bit of distrust when you're talking about contract issues.
Okay, I feel like some of these are great things that you're bringing up, but some of these conversations, there are some structures for communication around some of these, like Article 19 meetings and things with like district issues versus like building issues. And I was like, are those happening? Like, have you had one now that school's coming in?
Our first one will be next week.
Okay, great. So I hopefully some of those things can get discussed, but I appreciate the things that you brought forward. Is there any other questions, I guess, around anything?
I'd like to get a copy of what you just presented. So I make sure not to miss any important points.
Not a problem.
Thank you. That was easy.
It's not page number, I'm sorry.
I can handle that.
Also happy to send an email.
I'm happy to get it.
Thank you, and we do wish you a really good back to school for this year, and thank you for your work that you do with our students. It is very important and meaningful to us, so thanks for sharing.
We just want to always feel good about our work.
Yeah. Mhm. All right, we'll move into public comment. Sherry, if you grab that sheet, thanks. Thank you. Just a reminder, the public comment period is 21 minutes with each speaker limited to 3 minutes. Public comment is an opportunity for the board to listen to community members on educational issues. It's not a time for dialogue, so the board won't respond to statements or questions during this time. Our silence should not be interpreted as agreement or disagreement. If clarification is needed, the board chair may ask a brief question or a staff member may follow up with you after the meeting. Please remember that your words matter and that you're legally responsible for what you say. We ask everyone to help model the respectful and inclusive community we want for our students. And we'll start with our first speaker, which is Shelley LaRue.
Good evening. My name is Shelley LaRue, CESA president. I want to start by officially welcoming Principal Ferguson Hippolito to CES. My colleagues and I offer her all of our support to help her be as successful as possible as she takes over the helm of a very special school. And also we welcome Dr. Ireland as well. We look forward to working with her. I'd like to thank CEA co-presidents Katya and Brett for the statement they just shared on behalf of our certificated colleagues. I'm standing up here tonight to share that what they said, we as education support professionals feel as well. Morale isn't a certificated issue or a classified issue. It's a district issue, and it belongs to all of us. I don't believe I need to impress upon you the significant roles our ESPs play within the district tonight. Many of the people I represent have felt the same anxiety, the same uncertainty that Katya described. ESPs experience the same communication barriers Katya described, often with even less access to information. And when that information isn't easy to find, it costs us. Many of my members don't have a prep period or easy access to sit down and dig through a newsletter. They have limited time to go through all of their emails. When critical information isn't sent in plain searchable text, it means our ESPs are spending unnecessary time hunting down something that should have taken 5 seconds to find. That's not a small inconvenience. That's district resources, our members' time and attention, being wasted on a problem that a simple email could solve. We also feel the cost of relational avoidance. Connective labor isn't unique to the classroom. A paraeducator builds trust with a student over months. Office staff quickly learn which kids need an extra kind word in the morning. That work is deeply human. Right now, this district needs to rebuild some trust. That kind of repair only happens through real and sincere communication. So tonight, I'm asking the board and district leadership to hear this as one voice, not two. Please talk to us thoughtfully and professionally. Let plain, searchable human communication be the standard, not the exception, for every employee group in the district, not just the ones seemingly with the loudest microphone. We chose Coupeville too. We show up for our kids every single day in every role you can imagine because we believe in our community. Improving morale here means investing in clear, consistent, authentic communication with everyone who keeps the district running, not just those in the classroom, but everyone standing behind, beside, and in front of the classroom door. Thank you.
And our next public comment this evening is Melissa Mertwine.
You're representing Coupeville, I've got his voice recorded.
I'm speaking because I want the board to hear directly from me about how I was treated regarding playing summer football. I was declared ineligible to play football this fall due to perceived athletic code violations. My family and I have serious problems with how that was handled, but I only have 3 minutes, so that'll have to wait. Past practice in the district has been that students who are ineligible can participate in what is called summer football. It is open to all students, including COA and homeschool, both of which are on the team, and does not require signing the athletic code or even having a current sports physical. I look forward to summer football. Last year was my introduction to football as a junior, and I loved the game immediately. The coaches were awesome. I had a lot of friends on the team, and it was great. I felt I could participate this year and contribute to the team. I felt I could help the team improve. The coach very much believes developing people, not players, is the function of football, and that practice is important in instilling teamwork and mutual respect. When I showed up early on equipment issue day, the coach told me that he had avoided contacting me or responding to me because he'd been kept in the dark about my status, and he would email Mr. Smith about my eligibility. He said that if I was eligible, it was football all the way, and that he looks forward to having me. My dad followed up with him a few weeks later, and he told my father he was instructed not to let me play. The explanation given by the athletic director and superintendent was that the coach would not want to spend his time working with players that could not participate on the team this fall. This is completely false. They said the coach was in agreement that I should not participate. Someone is not being honest, and Coach Richter is a very honest person. To deny me summer football seemed a vindictive decision since it has not been past practice. Vindictive has been used in newspaper reports describing staff opinions of this administration. This appears to be true in my case, but to me, the worst part is being dishonest about whose decision this was. It was not in any way the choice of the coach, but the administration presented it that way. Sports in school are supposed to model behavior that it wants in students. I suppose the takeaway from this is that if you need to justify an unjust action, it's okay to just lie about it. I have one other incident showing the vindictive attitude towards me. I tried to go see a college recruiter at the high school, and my mother sent an email informing the school I would be there. When I arrived, Rebecca Case told me I had to leave. I called my mom to talk about what went wrong with Miss Case. Miss Case then incorrectly cited the athletic code and how it applied, and made ridiculously exaggerated expressions, rolling her eyes and throwing her hands in the air. But my mom explained the true inaccurate athletic code. My counselor at the school followed me outside after being kicked out to bring me inside and have me fill out a form. Miss Case raised her voice and told her multiple times I wasn't allowed inside until she begrudgingly let me in. When the counselor reminded her she was working inside the school, she referred to a document all COA students signed that says they won't go on the high school campus ever, yet COA students can in fact participate in sports and activities. I could not take advantage of an opportunity like this. Seems very vindictive. I had transferred to COA voluntarily. I'm confident any other COA student or homeschool student would have been allowed to visit the recruiter. To be given a visitor pass to go visit with the recruiter does not seem unreasonable, unless evidently your name is Josh Stockton. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna move on to consent agenda. There's been a request from Superintendent Leatherwood to remove the farm to school MOU from the consent agenda. Is there any other item a board member wishes to remove?
Is that remove for discussion or just to remove from the agenda?
Remove from the agenda, but is there anything a board member wants to move to new business for discussion? So if not, I would like a motion with the MOU for the farm to school removed from consent agenda.
I will move to approve the consent agenda with the deletion of memorandum of understanding between Coupeville School District and Coupeville Farm to School.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with the deletion of the memorandum of understanding between Coupeville Farm to School and Coupeville School District. That will come at a later meeting, but for now that it's still a work in progress with Farm to School. So it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to reports and communication, and we'll start out with our administrator report. And I'll let Superintendent Leatherwood introduce our presenters.
All right, one of the reports or actually, we're going to combine reports for tonight. The emergency preparedness reports that will come from Director Beck, along with Principal Kays and Principal Ferguson. So I'm going to bring all of them up to present together our emergency preparedness plan for the district and for each school. I also wanted the board to know that, and also anybody out there, that we also put on a separate slideshow from Director Beck, but they're going to combine for this one.
Okay.
The other one's there for your availability as well.
Thank you for the opportunity to present this today. So I think Superintendent Leatherwood, she really got the ball rolling. So this is our safety plan. It's 31 pages long, so it's quite different than what I'm used to. It's a lot more involving. It's kind of different from the emergency response side versus the school side. The preparation and planning to prevent the emergency services from participating in this. But the emergency services are very choosy not a good thing. So it's kind of nice being on the preventive side of planning rather than the response side. With that said, we're well into this. We've got a lot of the identified stakeholders that we're going to work with outside of the school district. There's some new laws that came into effect that kind of require us to do some more things. We address those in the new safety plan. Allison's law for the safe school alerts and patrol leading. So those are some new things that we actually already have in place. The school's been quite proactive. We've had DFIPs in a lot of places, and John, teacher John Gabeline is also an EMT, and for 20 years, and he's been actively involved in that process through his medical response side. So he has got the school well ahead of it. All of our DFIPs already have stop lead kits in them, and we've got tourniquets in those. So implementing that safety plan, the school's already well ahead of that, and it was a very simple process. That's just one example. As we move forward with our plan, it's also identified training. Most of the administrators have already started the command training, which was identified in this, and well ahead of that. And next step is going to be some training with the emergency responders as we get our plans and schedule.
I'm going to talk specifically around our site versions of the Safe School Plan. And before we do that, if you go ahead on the next slide for this time.
Sorry.
All right. So we want to align what we are doing here, of course, with our strategic plan. So safety is paramount to our students and our community. So in order to be able to prepare every student for their future, we need to make sure that these things are addressed so that people feel safe enough. Our mission, again, is to provide an educational foundation that allows every student to reach their potential. And the pillars that we're focusing on in this particular presentation is managing our resources effectively, but also, and most importantly, promoting student safety and staff well-being. Next slide. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today, where our comprehensive Safe Schools Plan stands, both district-wide and building-wide. We're going to talk a little bit about our newly formed CES and CMHS building safety committees that we are putting in place for this year. We'll talk about what a site annex is and what it will include. We'll look a little bit closer at how we run and document I Love You Guys, and this is something we presented on last year, but we'll just go into a little bit more detail. And then we'll look at our timeline for implementing our Safe Schools Plan and our next steps. So according to board policy, we have an emergency procedures and Safe Schools Plan, and it's aligned with our RCW, of course. And the requirement we have is to perform one safety drill per month when school is in session. We use the common language of standard response protocol that comes from our Love You Guys Foundation. And we use the terms hold, secure, lockdown, evacuate, and shelter. Something new that we're putting in place this year is to have a dedicated site safety committee for both the elementary school and the middle and high schools to talk through some of these different safety protocols and to maintain our site annex and make improvements as we go. And you can see where our committee membership will include all of these individuals, of course, and staff volunteers. Our function will be to finalize our site annex. We'll assign and train staff to specific incident command and reunification roles is something that we're really digging into. I know that we have done the emergency training through FEMA for our administrators and getting more people on board with that as well. We're scheduling and documenting our monthly drills and then conducting walkthroughs with first responders. And I know that Director Beck has already started that process, and we're going to continue that and look how we can partner with outside responders in the event of an emergency. So this was born from Director Beck has developed the district plan and shared with us that draft, including all the policy, authority, and common protocols. And that is mostly for our board and our administrators and responders. The site annex lies in between there. You can see our job at the site level is to have maps, rosters, staff assignments, and call lists, all of which we have, but we're putting it into one comprehensive location, and it's easy to access and also to train our staff. Audiences are staff and responders, and actually also our students. And then we have classroom references. And those were what we showed you last year, a continuation of the I Love You Guys, but the 5 response protocol actions posted in every room, which already exists in every room, and making sure that every adult and every student knows how to respond in those particular areas. So our site annex includes building maps and assembly points. We're looking at, given our site, if there are more ideal spots to look at. So we're expanding that. We're looking at incident command assignments based on some of those FEMA trainings that we've received. We are really identifying our reunification site and staff roster, both on-site at the school and off-site as needed. We look at confidential access and functional needs rosters for students who might need additional supports during an emergency. We are continuing significant work on hazardous materials inventory, and I want to give a very special thank you to our science departments, in particular our middle school and high school science departments, Catherine Berg, Logan Ince. We've had Katya Williford and Wilbur Purdue have working so hard to get those things cleaned up within our classrooms, and we're continuing that work. Director Beck talked about the bleeding control kits and AED locations and updating those, looking at our drills and documentations, and then having our emergency call list updated. What we've completed so far is our annex structure. So that document exists and they're drafted. That is work that our committee needs to look at and approve. We will look at, again, the confidential access and needs roster template that I've built and that we will share with necessary staff. We created a quick reference for teachers to have in their classroom in addition to the posters on the wall, so they have something to refer to in an emergency. We have our floor plans and evacuation routes. And again, we're continuing to revise those, but those exist. And we have our room by room assignments in all of those different response protocols. In progress, and things that we're going to look at with our committee in particular is our offsite reunification locations and how we go about doing that. A revision of our evacuation routes, and continuing to do that important hazardous materials inventory. So we hope to have that completed by the end of the first month and ready to present to the board. Going into a little bit more detail around the standard response protocol from I Love You Guys. Just if you're not aware what these different things are, these are different calls that we make that may happen in an emergency situation. And so if you hear your students coming home, or if you hear these different things, this is a general idea of what they mean. A hold means that we're holding everyone in the room or area. We clear all the hallways and everybody stays in their room, and the doors are locked. Everybody takes roll and instruction continues as much as possible. A secure is get inside, lock all outside doors. Everybody returns inside, business as usual. Same thing. We continue on with whatever we're doing. We just continue it all. Everyone's just inside and everything is locked. And take attendance and make sure everyone is where they need to be or are accounted for. In a lockdown, we have locks, lights, out of sight movement, or non-movement, I should say. Students will move out of sight and stay silent. We lock all doors, lights are off, and we do not open for anyone. Evacuate is we are given a stated location by the person in charge. All students leave belongings. They follow all instructions by staff, and our adults lead students and take rosters and accountability. And then shelter is our last action, and that's where there's whatever hazard is presented is stated, and we have our safety strategies in place. We use appropriate safety strategies for students, and then our adults will lead the strategy account for all students. When we conduct drills at both the elementary and the middle and high school, how we use these protocols is we name the announcement, or in the announcement, we name the action, and then we give the directive of what needs to occur. And we repeat that one time in the event that it was missed the first time. Instruction continues wherever possible. So even though there may be an interruption, we will continue on as much as we can. Drills, we want students to make sure that those feel routine to them, and it should not be an alarm. It just comes naturally to them. A drill is always announced as a drill, and then we will always give an all clear as a separate announcement. The drills include all staff, not just teaching staff, classroom staff, it's all office staff, kitchen staff, custodial staff, everyone participates, and everyone has a role. Within the office, we debrief within 5 minutes what worked and what didn't with all of our leads. And then we'll send out periodically with our staff, we'll send out feedback loops so that we can understand what went well, what didn't go well, what do we need to fix. We log every drill, date, time, type, duration, participants, and any corrective action that we need to take. So as I mentioned before, we have one safety drill every month. School is in session. That does include an earthquake drill that we have to do. We will do a pedestrian evacuation drill if we're confirmed in a hazard zone, getting some clarity on that. We look at different times of day so that it may happen during a passing period or lunch so that students are prepared, not just when they're sitting and knowing it's coming in a classroom, but if they're in the hallways, they know what to do and where to go. And then we're looking at a 4-year exercise cycle where we coordinate with our responders and do kind of more larger response type activities. Our family reunification, we're working on here. Students in general, our family reunification includes students and families moving on separate paths until we have a controlled release point. We'll have a self-sorting for families. We have a station where it's identified. Identification is verified, what we have versus who's who, so that we don't release anyone who shouldn't be released. So our next steps is to finalize our site annex, complete our inventory, as I mentioned before. We'll do a full staff training on the site annex once that's finished, and reunification roles once those are assigned by our safety committee. And then we will present our completed annex to the board when it's ready for you. I forgot to mention we will retrain our staff as well on our I Love You Guys next week before our students arrive. And we also will train our students during advisories. Any questions?
I am really, really grateful because I actually started getting involved at a little bit of a deeper level with the district starting around 2018. The PTA noticed that there was basically no emergency plan and there was no emergency supplies, and this was kind of concerning at a parent level. And so we were trying to start small. We were trying to figure out, like, hey, who's paying attention to the emergency supplies? And it was really hard to get any kind of answers. And so the detail that I'm seeing in the safety plan and the fact that that level is considered, as well as like the more personal threats that everybody's worried about these days, it's all here. And I love that we're able to answer to our parents and our kids that we got it covered. So thank you.
That was what I was going to say too, is, it may not be normal that boards, hear the details of all of these things, but I would say on our end, we had a desire to see this grow and to see it improve. And I've seen that like year over year, the plan just keeps getting better and keeps getting more developed. And so I just appreciate you putting the work. And John, it's cool to see it from the other perspective of emergency services. And so I appreciate that, that information that you bring to this planning process too. So thank you guys for working on that. I know it's like there's so many aspects of the job and this is an important one. So thank you.
This is, I just want to say that the plan is wonderful, the way it's put together, and John, I know that's your experience shining through. A couple other things I wanted to mention is that, this is the first time I've heard this comprehensive of report since I've been on the board, and that's welcome. The first year I was on the board, I actually was appointed to the emergency committee. And I've mentioned it a couple of times since then. I don't think it would be bad to have a board member involved. And if nobody else wants to do it, I would volunteer. I also think it would be helpful, two things, so that people in the community are more aware of what you're doing. I think you already occasionally send out information in parent newsletters about when you're having those drills. But if we could get the board on that mailing list too, I think it'd be helpful for us to be able to say, oh, they did this last week. I think that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. Is that all the administrators? All right, we'll move on to our business manager report. Director Lyson.
Okay. Checking with Mike here. Does it need my magic touch? Now I can just have you advance it on your side there. That's yeah, no problem. All right, well, let's kick her off. August board report for the finances. We always like to start with our strategic plan. That is coming any time now. Just as a reminder of our vision and prepare every student for their future. And our mission is to provide an educational foundation that allows every student to reach their potential. Our pillars are listed there, the 5 pillars there. I think you'll notice, you saw in the previous presentation, we're really trying to highlight where the pillars tie into what we're doing, because we're being intentional about bringing those into what we're doing. And so managing resources effectively always is going to tie to what we're doing, but as is ensuring excellent instruction, empowering students, all the case. But so I just encourage you to kind of, the reason we all talk about these over and over is to just, we do think about them as we're preparing. Okay, slide. We're going to start off with the hot topic of enrollment for this upcoming school year. I want to highlight in the bold, italicized word estimated at the top, because this number changes hourly. And I will say, in the last 3 days, I have seen nothing. I've only seen it increase. So it's slowly going up and up and up as individuals are kind of last minute registering to get started. I just put on this slide here the budget for last year, where our numbers ended in June of 2026, our then projected budget for this coming year, and where we are. This was updated today. And actually, since it was updated, it's gone up 3 more students since this update. So just to give you a sense of, it is continually changing. Our K-3 and 4 to 5 numbers basically are elementary school, and we are, because math in my head, shoot, I have to put that instead. We're just a little bit shy there, but our classes are still well full. We're looking at the place that we're shy is in kindergarten. The rest of the classes are coming in right where they need to there. Middle and high school have far exceeded our budget. And even with ALE students, with students doing running start, I will say those numbers, open deck, ALE, running start, everything right now is kind of in flux. And so our registrars at the various schools are working through those. But even with those numbers, we are exceeding our budget by at least 60 students, 65. I would not be surprised if we get up to that many. We initially looked at this, we had it a little bit higher, and then we did the adjustments for the ALE and Open Den and Running Start, and we quadruple checked the numbers, and so we're about at 65 over what our budget was. So great news for that. Very exciting. I am working daily with the registrars of middle school, high school, with Courtney down at the elementary school. I just talked to Ms. Bishop at COA for ALE, for COA and ALE. So I'm in daily communication with all of them, checking. So any questions on our estimated enrollment for this next year?
So if students are already registered from last year, then they're presumed to be returning unless we hear otherwise. But most of this overage is due to we projected a lot of decrease, but it hasn't materialized, and B, we're seeing new students registering.
Correct. I will tell you that I believe that elementary is really, those numbers are really, really, really solid. Because I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think there have been phone calls made to each parent. So those elementary numbers are, no, she's correct. She's
No, they're not calling all parents, but
Oh.
Courtney has a good tap on who is leaving, and so it's a lot easier in the elementary of getting who's coming and who's going, and she has the packets that she knows are out and ready to come in, but yes, it's pretty solid with elementary.
Yeah, so we feel the most solid about elementary. However, but yes, I would say those numbers that we were very conservative in our budget because we didn't want to get stuck where we were last year. And we just seen students come back, which is great. Let's do the next slide. So this is our transfers. I also updated this today. And again, after I updated the slide, we saw some more students, and I didn't see if they were coming or going because I didn't have a report. But I have been able to figure out how to run this report at a point in time. I didn't think I was able to do that, and I realized through a filter I was. So I ran a report as of anybody prior to August 28th of 2025. And I'm sorry, that's this 2025, 2027, it should say 2025, 2026. So at this point last year, at this point in time, we had lost 2 students. At this point in time this year, we have a loss of 28 students, and that's a net loss. So you can see we have 150 entering and 178 leaving. I did not look to see where we ended the year, but that's close to where we ended the year, I believe, maybe a little higher than where we ended last year. The good news with this number being so much higher is I believe that people have gotten in sooner to make those choices. I think maybe what caught us last year is so many people after the fact decided to make changes, and we just were really caught unaware. We have all kinds of systems in place this year to be more communication. All of it's just, we're just more on top. So that's where we stand for choice transfers. Any questions there?
I just want to back up to the enrollment. So obviously we staffed at
Go back one more.
our budget. Sorry. So obviously we staffed at our budget. Like at what point would we look at, staffing for an increased enrollment number than we budgeted? Would we wait to make sure the kids show up?
Yeah.
Okay.
On the consent agenda today, we did.
Well, I know that. Yeah.
Staff.
But that was budgeted.
In a sense, yeah.
It was budgeted staffing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions about that?
No, thanks.
Okay. So going on to our July financials, we're out of our lower months of May and June, which is lovely. July, you can see our revenue that came in was 1.9 million. This should be our highest. Well, I take that back. April was the highest due to local tax dollars coming in. But the highest revenue that we received from the state happens in July, which is why we saw the big bump there. You can see our target for this point in the year should have been 92%. We are at 88%. So even though we are seeing that big bump, Still a little shy of our revenue targets, again, based on that higher enrollment in the beginning of the year. The other three columns there are just where we were at this point last year in previous years. So kind of similarly, we were below target in revenue every year for the last 4 years. So this year was not an exception. We'll go to the next slide. The line on here and not the bars is our current year, the bars of the previous 3 years. So you can see July, just barely popping above that gray line means it's the second highest revenue we've had in the last 4 years, which is great news. Some of that were grants that had previously gone unclaimed. They did a big push to claim a lot of grant dollars in July. But that's where we stand. You can see really the trend doesn't change a whole lot year to year. There are some minor differences, but really it kind of follows this path. And I expect it will do the same. So go ahead and do the next slide. For expenditures in July, the good news is I think that was our lowest in 4 years. No, shoot, 23, 24, almost our lowest in 4 years. We've really been working, and I have to give a lot of credit to Donna, who is our fiscal specialist. We've been really closely, not just Donna, everybody who's doing things. I've worked hard to communicate with everyone that our goal is really to be able to support staff, support students, support programs, again, going back to those pillars. And so I'm questioning, is this thing needed or that thing needed, or do we have to do it right now? And so people have been actively working to be conservative with their spending, and that shows. Our target for expenses was 92%, and we are at 90, which means we are under budget, which is good. However, that's a little bit of a false number because we did a budget extension, which increased our expenses. If you remember, we approved a budget extension, which upped our expenses a little bit. So it has us under our goal, which is great. That's where we want to be. But the bottom line got inflated a little bit. So I would say, I didn't do this calculation, but I would say we're probably right at target 90%. But still, that's a great place to be, knowing we haven't exceeded our expectations for spending. You'll do the next slide again. You can see for this year, we've been a little bit higher in several areas, and then we had some lower months. Now that we're coming to the school end, now that the budget is in, now that I'm a few months in, we're really kind of, you can see our line is going down. And I'm hoping that is going to continue trending downward in August. So far, obviously, we're mostly to the end of August. I know our payroll is less. I believe our account payable is going to be less in August. So we should see a continued downward trend in expenses for August and closing out the year. Any questions on revenue or expenses through July? Next month is going to be the exciting one. That'll be a full year.
I guess, it's super helpful to have the revenues and the expenditures. I still would love to have a conversation about some type of a cash flow that is also follows this, cash balance or fund balance sort of chart, because when we're talking about having decreased revenue and we're talking about obviously increasing our expenditure capacity, it brings up the question of what is it doing to our fund balance.
Sure.
And so I still just wish that there was some way of tracking that throughout the year so that we know. We've had a chart before that's we know when those dips are, we know when those, high peaks are.
Right.
Are we on trend?
Yeah.
Is it going to be potentially lining up in where it was in years past? So I love that idea, but something like that, fund balance. Yeah, fund balance.
Well, so the next slide.
Yeah.
This one in teeny tiny letters does have the dollar amount.
Right.
I don't have the
Right.
slide it
Yeah.
used to do. So I can, and that's something that I hope to bring up in a future workshop maybe, is to really just sit down and report. Because I know everybody likes to see a little something that, works for them. And so I'd love to, as we go into the next year, sit down and come up with a plan of these are the charts and data that you'd like to see. This at the top does give you the month by month of where our fund balance is. You just don't have the visual. So
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
add that in certainly. I will say, just for some clarification, when you see the fund balance for the month, that is as of the last day of the month. So if you're looking at July 2026, that's July 31st, 2026 it was 1.1 million and for 199.5. For those of you looking on the screen, I apologize. It's small. It's hard to cram all those months in there. It's smaller each month that we add. When we look down below, and actually just to point out in that September month, if you look at the total equity at the bottom there, we were at 5.2 million. And then in July, we were at 5 million. So we are 175,000 shy of our starting balance. Really hoping we're going to get back to the starting balance at the end of the year. But again, preliminarily, I'm looking at that and thinking we might hit that, which would be great. So to me, that's a good sign. Meaning we, if not more, but to not go, yeah, we'll see where we land.
What would that indicate about progress on our capital projects if we didn't drop any dollars?
It would mean that we dropped a little bit in our general fund. We actually made money in our capital projects, and I'll go into this a little bit more. We have not, our capital projects did not go as quickly as anticipated. Part of that was turnover. Part of that has been just the DOD grant and solar grant and pushing the timing of some of those things. Most of the projects from the levy that passed to do a number of items have been completed. I think we've talked about that. There's one or two that still needed to happen, and again, some of that was turnover. We have that money invested, and so we're earning quite a bit of interest on $3 million. We're making a good amount of interest. So even as we're maybe not spending as quickly, we're earning more quickly because of the interest of the funds sitting there. So, and say debt service is just going up, and we're not using it currently. We hope to use that when our bond goes through. ASB again increased, and transportation increased. Again, all of that is revenue. In August, transportation dropped down. And I should have said that. Actually, that will change. It'll be pretty hard to do that.
Level is gonna be.
I eventually forgot about this bus that we purchased. Yes, we purchased the school bus. So we'll see that next year. Can you go back really quickly, Mike? Just a couple of things that we like to keep an eye out for. The days of unreserved fund balance are 18, which is up from previous. We'd like to see that number much higher, but for now, it's at least trending upward. This does include a change, the budget extension that we put in, so that 20,245,000 is the new number with budget extension. And then the same for our fund balance and our year-to-date average. We do have a board policy that our fund balance is at least 6%. And that can be interpreted a number of ways, but I understand are interpreting it to be the average over the year. So right now we are at 6.2%. Currently in the month of July, we're at 5.5. As I said, I hope that I anticipate that we'll be at 6% at the end of the year. And again, that fund balances, that's just, both of those numbers are just our general fund. That does not include any of the other funds. And Mike, if you want to go to the next slide, these are the official reports from our software, from Cumulative. And I don't know how much time you'd like me to spend on this, but I guess this helps me point out a couple of things if I just take a few minutes on each. So this one's our general fund. That second column that says actual for the month is what we spent in the month of July. That first column of the annual budget is the revised budget that includes the budget extension. And then where we are with the year, where we are with encumbrances, and then the percentage at the end. And if you were to go back and look at those percentages and those revenue and expense slides, they would match what's here. A few things to point out in our expenditures, as we're in the summer months, some things has gone down. Our payroll is about 1.3 million. Our accounts payable is about another 150 million for July. I expect those are going to be a little less than August. Those for the accounts payable and payroll are our two big expenses. There's nothing really to point out that's a big deal here for the month of July for the general fund. You could go to the next one. Our capital projects fund, You can see we budgeted the full balance. That is a tactic with the Northwest ESD, the Educational School Service District, that they encourage us to budget our full balance of capital funds. Even if we won't use them, it gives us more freedom to be able to do what we need to do. So clearly, we did not spend 3.6 million. Instead, we spent 411,000 year to date. You are going to see quite a few expenses coming in August for that. Some of the Department of Defense noise mitigation grant, we're getting a lot of invoices that have kind of been withheld a little bit. We're gonna see a big dip here for this in August. Probably all I want to say about that. Should have any specific questions.
Are the encumbrances included in the final percent?
They are.
Okay.
Yes. You go to the next one. There's not much to say about this because there's really been no activity except for the fact that we've been earning interest on the small amounts of money that's there. And there's a little bit of local tax revenue because folks who have been late on their tax payments and then pay after the fact, that money, if it was due when we had debt, it goes back and gets backdated to that. So not a lot there. Next one. ASB, we did have a little bit of activity in July. That was because I did some journal entries to clear some things out, as well as there was some spending that had been approved prior to students leaving that took place in July. There were a few sport camps and different things that happened. So a little bit of money there. ASB is going to start out either all clubs will either have a positive balance or a zero balance. I think I mentioned before that we have moved some costs out of the ASB fund and into the general fund to allow the students to be able to build up specifically their general student body account and their athletics account. Those previously year after year had been drained, and the expenses they had to pay out of them were more than what were coming in, and they just had no chance to get ahead. So we made the decision for 1 year to change that and allow all of their gate fees to be able to stay in ASB and kind of give them a buffer to build that up. I'm very much looking forward to meeting with the ASB when they're back, and I'm hoping to meet with them monthly and give them a presentation of where they are and talk about revenue, expenses, and answer any questions they may have. Excuse me, big stuff. And then the last one is our transportation fund. As you can see, we budgeted $402,000. I want to say our school bus was 219,000, I believe, if I'm remembering that correctly. So again, that is going to drop next month. Even though we budgeted 402, we do not actually have that much in the fund. We instead had 229 in the fund. So with 219 going out, it's going to leave us with about $10,000 left in that fund. And that is all I have. Any questions there?
Thank you for including the cumulative reports. I know they're a little bit more boring, but after 6 or 7 years of looking at those reports for comparison purposes, it's really helpful. Plus it fulfills the letter of the law.
Which I do not realize, so I apologize for that. You're welcome. It's hard to get it in this, I would love to, it's hard to get it in this slide format. I spent quite a bit of time trying to.
I actually wouldn't mind if you just attach PDF, because I would love the bottom section that has the starting fund balance and all of the other information, so that you can get a sense of those revenues and expenditures, where we started, where we are looking at. So even if it was just a separate PDF outside of the presentation, I would be.
I was gonna say, I will do that. I can't get it in the presentation, but I can certainly attach it and stuff into the report. Yeah, absolutely. I'll do it. Thank you.
And I know you must be looking forward as much as I am that next year the budget figures will be the ones you create.
I'm very much looking forward. Yes, I am.
That will help close the gap more.
It is going to be great. Yes.
Thank you so much. Any other questions about the business report? No. All right, move on to our superintendent report.
All right. Thank you, Mike. While he's getting that up, obviously our staff come back next week, and I want to make sure that the board has on the calendar for Tuesday morning 7:30 to 8:30 is at breakfast, but we officially start at 8:30. And Foundation will be there to talk, and we have a presentation with all of our directors and our staff there as well. So it's exciting. This is the wrong slide. But yeah. I will project mine on there. This isn't my report. But I'll get it up there. Will that help?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So this year's theme is think the unthinkable, reach the unreachable. The thought behind that is around everything that is changing in the world, from our leadership level all the way down to our students. The jobs of tomorrow have yet been even thought of. And so when we get kids, when we get staff, when we get our leadership thinking about the unthinkable, we tend to reach higher and we reach that unreachable. So that is our theme this year, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, but we'll also be talking about it at our opening. So like I said, next in the next 2 weeks, on the 28th and the 31st, we have our 6th and 9th grade open house to drop in. On Friday, it's from 5 to 7, and Monday from 9 to 11. Our new staff orientation kicks off on Monday. We have a few staff members from last year that will be coming to that, who were hired either mid-year or in October, November, and then any staff this year that were hired. They will have that on Monday. On September 1st is our all-staff kickoff. During that time, we'll be having an opening keynote. All of our directors and leaders will be a part of that keynote. We've co-created that together, and we'll be working hard to deliver that cohesive message to staff, but also then what I call, gathering into the cafeteria where the foundation's providing lunch again this year. We're very appreciative of that. So the board's welcome to come to both of those. Like I said, 8:30 to 11:30, and then lunch is from 11:30 to 12. So I encourage you all to be there. We'll also have President White, who will be getting up and talking a little bit about the message for the board and introducing the board as well. On September 2nd and 3rd, we have our building and teacher directed PLD days. These are days where part of the morning is with the principals and leadership guiding the professional learning, and then in the afternoons or vice versa, the teachers with their PLC time or classroom setup time. And then September 8th is our first day with students. We're very, very excited. Just a reminder that we do have the new bell schedules this year, beginning this year, and middle school, high school will be 7:50 to 2:20, and elementary is 9:10 to 3:40. All right, so a little bit about our theme. Think the unthinkable, reach the unreachable. When you think about shared leadership, you think about everyone flipping in. So it's not just one person who's leading a group or a school or a classroom, but it's everybody flipping in. I like to use the analogy of when you climb a mountain, you never build an anchor on a single point. One point can hold enormous load right up until it can't, and then everything falls. A redundant anchor, or one that's spread out, can carry the same weight across several points. So if one falls, it doesn't all fall, if that makes sense. And so when you think about that with shared leadership, when there's more sharing that leadership all the way down to the student level, it really helps to build culture, systems, and learnings in an organization. So that load does not get lighter. It rests on one, it doesn't rest on one person, it stops resting on that one person. And that's what shared leadership is. And we're going to be talking about that in great detail on Tuesday, but we're going to also be talking about how it starts with leaders it continues with staff and it goes down to the students. So everybody is a leader in the organization and everybody's put it in. We're very excited. Over the summer, I want to thank Director Beck and his crew. If you didn't notice today on your way in, the front of the middle school, high school, as well as our elementary school, they worked tirelessly across these three campuses to ensure that visibility, safety, and just making us proud of the ones that we walk into and helping students be proud of where they're walking. So I hope everybody noticed that on their way in. We had community volunteers. We had people asking how they could help, and they showed up with tools and time, and Director Beck had them helping as well, and it was really nice, down to even our garden club who came in and beautified our flowers and our flower beds. And if you noticed outside the district office, they did a wonderful job with those, and we appreciate them. Our farm to school is our partner, our 501c3 partner, and the MOU tonight was that we need to add one more thing that was decided last night at their board meeting, so that's why that was delayed. But they're a key partner in keeping the farm going all summer. They had people out at the farm this summer. It's a great way to keep the community engaged and helping to grow the food that we're going to eat for the year, which is exciting. They even brought in some samples of the tomatoes yesterday to our training yesterday, and it was wonderful that we were able to enjoy those. I will say also our custodial team has been working nonstop since school got out to ensure that deep cleaning has happened, surplus has been removed, classrooms are set up across all the buildings, and even this weekend we have carpet getting installed into the portables out at the elementary because it was in dire need of being replaced. And Director Beck really worked hard with the company to get a great deal on making sure those are ready to go. And then finally, our Coupeville Schools Foundation, we met with them over the summer. We went to their retreat. We just are excited about the continued support for our staff and students, and including, and providing lunch on that opening day. Our fall athletics are underway. Practices have started. Our coaches and volunteers, we want to thank them. They have been giving up their last weeks of the summer and starting practices. All of the eligibility and paperwork has been in. Our athletic office, Mr. Smith, has been working really hard to ensure registration and physical clearances. We also have Ms. Ford working on that as well, and she's been a great partner with him to ensure everybody's ready to go. I encourage board members to come watch any event, and it's a great way for everybody to see what's going on in the district. I put up here some of our fall openers in case you want to write any of those down. These are the first home game dates for every fall program. And again, I encourage board members, board reps, student board reps to come if you'd like to enjoy those. Our football, our first home game is Friday, September 4th at 7 p.m. And for boys soccer, Friday, September 11th. Volleyball, Saturday, September 12th. Again, the dates and everything are up there. We have girls soccer coming on September 12th, which is a Saturday. Cross country, Wednesday, the September 16th. And then finally, middle school volleyball is starting on September 23rd against South Coupeville. So those are our openers. We do and will have the schedules posted. I know Principal Case has them up, but she'll also have them in her newsletters as well. One of the things that we're looking ahead for this year is our strategic plan is expiring at the end of this year. And beginning in September, we're going to be starting a student center planning process facilitated by Performance Fact to run September of 2026 through May of 2027. And I say student centered, and you're going to see why on the next slide. But what they do to help us work through this is to ensure that we make sure that we're ready. We have a scope, we have a calendar, we know who we're going to have for different teams because they do work with different teams. They work with student teams, they ask for student voice, they look at staff voice. They bring in community voice, parents, and then district leadership as well. And that communication plan is the first thing that they roll out, and they continue to roll it out throughout the year. Where we are right now is we're looking for who wants to be on those teams. And so that's going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks. We're going to be meeting with that team. They're going to ask for us to publish who we want on those teams. And then we're going to be asking for those who want to join us. We're going to be digging in September to community listening sessions. We're going to be doing student voice surveys, but also student focus groups. So it's not going to be surveying students to death, because my number one thing was, I hear from students a lot that we're surveying them for everything. We want them to hear what our students are saying firsthand. So they're going to be coming out and doing that. They're going to be data gathering, and they're going to be doing analysis on that. From that, they will get to the core planning process, where they convene a team, and they start to work on portrait of a graduate, aspirational goals that they and targets that the team wants to fulfill. They then do community forums and student reality checks to make sure how does this seem? Is this working for us or not? And then they get family and staff feedback as well. We'll be getting signature strategies and key actions. So this is the part I'm very excited about. This process with all of us will come out with goals and actionable steps and data that will support whether we're making or achieving those goals all along. It will also set dates for those goals. Instead of just saying, here's everything we want to do. There'll be incremental pieces that we do along the way. And then finally, we'll be presenting to the board and hoping for that adoption support and implementation, along with a roadmap and scorecard somewhere in the spring of next year, May or June. What I like about this is it's the company helps us start with student learning first, where we look at our promise, our core values, mission, and vision. We look at a portrait of a graduate. We look at goals and measures, and then excellent targets. So we start with that piece. That's the first thing. Then we look at instructional effectiveness to support what we've already decided were our goals. And so how do we look at our instructional vision? What do we look for professional practices for effective instruction, and what does that look like? And then how can we strengthen the standards aligned instruction into our core program? So what that means is, like, we are given standards, and any teacher out here knows that we can be given hundreds of standards to teach in 1 year, but there are standards that we teach to mastery. There's standards where we touch and go, and we have to identify those and really focus in on what are we teaching to mastery versus what are we just touch and going on, and that's what this helps with. And then finally, the empowering infrastructure. We're going to be looking at strategy maps. We're going to be looking at signature strategies and key actions. Like I said, there's going to be goals and data and key steps to get there, along with an implementation timeline that will provide that scope. I put off to the side some other districts, both in the area and across the nation, who have used this company. There are many more if you go on their website. And then you also can look at what they produce and those outcomes. Similar, but not the same. So any questions on that?
No, I think that the work around strategic planning has been building for a while, from really when we started our plan 4 years ago. And so I think all of us have wanted to see it more measurable, like more SMART goals type of a thing, that we can actually not generalize what they mean, but be more specific, and that there's an agreement around what those are between the staff and the board and the students and the families. And so I like that it's more specific. I like that process. I
did forward the board all of the strategic plan samples, so you could go through those, but if you want more, she said she could also send more. But those were ones that were a little different from each other so that you could kind of see the product that.
Yeah, it's good information on it.
Yeah. Honestly, strategic planning is one of the primary functions of the
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
This is what we do is govern, and this is how we govern, so I hope it's a really great process.
Right. So, you're gonna hear from Chris from Winnaha tonight, but I did want to touch on this a little bit. We had our, continue with our noise mitigation grant. We are, as you know, doing a progressive design build. And we're in the midst of, we have selected a design build team. I was really excited that we had 6 teams respond to the qualifications request. And I will say 6 teams that were highly qualified to do the work. And it was very highly impressive, and I was excited to hear from all of them or see what they had to offer and then narrow it. We took those 6 and we had a team that included district facilities, administration, project management partners from Winnaha, and then we also had representatives from the town of Coupeville. And so that team took those 6, looked through those, narrowed it to 3, utilizing a rubric and a scoring sheet on how to do that. All of that follows the federal guidelines and state guidelines for selecting this team. From there, we invited 3 back to go into confidential meetings where they came and they asked questions. They presented a little bit, but they also presented who their team would be, and they brought those partners with them. Again, I was highly impressed. I was impressed with the questions. And then from there, they submitted. And from the submissions, the same team came together and we came up with a recommendation for one that you're going to be hearing from Chris tonight. But I did want everybody here to know every single team that presented and every company that brought forward their design build team, we were highly impressed with. So we want to thank all of them. And I wanted to mention, and I handed out cards. If you're in the audience and you did not get one, I encourage you to get one on the way out. But we're currently on the community feedback period of our facility task force. Board members, I provided you with the mailer that's going to be going out to all of our families and voters in the Coupeville School District. So it'll go all the way down to Freeland, all the way up here to Coupeville. And what we're asking for is to help guide the team on what a recommendation to the board would be around our facilities for the future. The facilities task force themselves, we've been working since last year, once a month, to really guide the work of what do our facilities in Coupeville need to be, and what do we believe we want for the future of our students. We've looked at all the facilities, we've looked at what their current state is, and then we also looked at what they might be in 10 years and 20 years out, and made some recommendations that we wanted to put into packages so that the community can give us feedback on what do they desire or what they want for their next buildings. What I want to encourage community members to do is to come out on September 1st from 6 to 7:30 at the elementary and come tour the building with me. I have a short presentation. We'll have directors there. We'll have representatives from Winnaha there to answer questions. And we really want people to see the building. Many of our community members went to school in Coupeville, and the building has been pretty much untouched from the time it was built in different sections. And so it's important that we get people out to look at it. Why Coupeville Elementary and not the middle high school right now? Because that's the biggest part of this package recommendation, even though there are middle school and high school pieces as well. So this card here, what it does is it brings everybody to our website that tells everything that the facility task force has done. It gives those options and what's in those packages. And then it gives a survey where we want to ask the community for feedback. And this survey closes September 20th. And we just want to get as many people giving us feedback. And the feedback may be, this is not the time to do a bond. This may, it might be, we don't believe, in having an elementary or any additions to the middle school and high school. But we want to hear from everybody so that we know ahead of time, did we miss the mark? And do we need to come back to the table before we present to the board? Or do we, is this even a good timing at this point? So we encourage everybody to fill this out. If you know anyone, come get some cards from me. I have more in my office and we'll continue to hand those out.
I would just reiterate too, like the feedback or the facility task force is like, it is partly those immediate needs, but it's also like building out that long range facility plan. What are those needs in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? And so, what's the immediate need, but then also what's the future?
Yeah.
So that's been coming up a lot too.
I'll be spending a lot of the next several weeks on a roadshow is what we're calling it, where I'll have a facility task force, at least one person with me and a board member, and we'll be going out to community groups and presenting on this very thing. And we are hoping to hit all of our community organizations. And so if you know of an organization and you're not sure, I have it on my list. I have lines on our list, but make sure that you tell me, because that's something that we're trying to do and hit hard this year. I already have 5 scheduled on my calendar, but I would like to see at least that triple before the end of September so we can get the word out and get that feedback. What would happen next is on October 1st, after this survey closes, we'll be looking at all that feedback as a task force. We'll be making a final recommendation and presenting it to the board in October if there's a recommendation. And then we'll be looking at November, having the board make a final decision on whether to proceed. And then potentially February 9th, a target election date if you do proceed. Is that any other questions about that?
So December would be the resolutions, right?
Yes.
Do you have more of these cards that are going to be mailed out too?
I can get more.
Okay.
Yeah,
They've got a list of people that I think would like a little bit more information.
Either. Perfect. Yeah. So this year, just some things that are happening. The best information that I can get is by going into classrooms and buildings. It's exciting for me to be a continued regular presence in all 3 buildings. Our board walkthroughs I'm excited about that. We almost have them to get them out to you, but we're trying to ensure that you get a good representation of the entire district on those walkthroughs on Tuesdays and different times throughout the day, because there's always things that are happening at different times on those Tuesdays. And so we're scheduling those September through June, and every department in our district has signed up for those. And you'll be getting that invitation this week. Open houses and school events. I want to remind you that 6th and 9th grade open house, Friday, August 28th, 5 to 7, Monday, August 31st, 9 to 11. Please come join us. And then elementary back to school night and ice cream social is on Thursday, September 3rd, 5 to 6:30. The community roadshow so far, we have reached out to service clubs. I'll be presenting to the town and commissioners next in 2 weeks. And then we've reached out to the chamber, we've reached out to foundation. I'll be presenting next week at Lions Club for a select short time, but I'll at least get information out to them. And then we've reached out to waterfront groups to continue that roadshow. And then, I'm excited to be on the sidelines and be in the audience for many of these athletics and activities that are coming up. So it's going to be a great year and I'm looking forward to it. Do you have any further questions?
I might mention on the things that are happening before school starts on Friday, September 4th, the 6th graders are meeting their 8th grade leaders in the web program at the gym. And I would imagine the board's invited if you want to come.
You are absolutely invited.
I went last year. It was kind of fun and interesting to see them.
And I put
Sure.
that on my board communications. I didn't put it in my report, but WEB stands for Where Everyone Belongs. And it's really helping students transition from 5th grade to 6th grade. So we're very excited. The foundation helped support that program, and we're very excited for that. So, thank you, Jed.
Any other questions? No? All right, we'll move on to board member reports. Start with you, Director Sherman.
No report.
Okay.
Well, I do have a little bit of legislative rep visit. I have spoken and met with Representative Shavers and Representative Paul briefly. They're kind of busy trying to get reelected. So their focus isn't too much on what's coming down. I did let them know a couple things. One, that we want more money, and we all had a good laugh about that one. And the other one we did mention was this governor's initiative to limit cell phones. And so I told him, we were supportive of that and got a little feedback. I guess the hang up may be there is a thing like, well, local control. So there's the issue that the legislator will be dealing with on that is the state mandating something versus people who want to leave it up to local control. And that's about all I got.
Thanks. Birthday girl.
I have a dead microphone, so.
You can share with Nancy.
Yeah, why don't I steal Nancy's? I just wanted to say that this is our first meeting since our retreat. And we discussed all kinds of things there. The goal setting process is always just a really great way to kind of ground ourselves in the next year. Obviously, we'll talk about that again later. But we also talked about getting back on track on policy. And as our policy committee, I'm really hoping that we're going to hit the ground running, maybe have a meeting coming up in the next couple of weeks so that we can kind of set out that roadmap for how we're going to get some good work done this year. I think that's it.
I've already said this once, but I'm going to just say it again. I am really impressed with what we heard from the administrators and John about the emergency plan today. I feel like that's the most comprehensive report I've heard since I've been on the board. And it really speaks also to the experience that John brings to our district, and that's very welcome. And I also wanted to compliment Stacy. Probably nobody else looked at this but me, but in some financial reports she sent out, you sent me out a new updated chart of accounts. Oh my God. I mean, the detail that you have now is just fabulous. And I know that in the end, that's all going to be really, is going to serve us well, but I can't believe how many pages there were and how hard you worked to track expenses correctly so that you can answer questions. Little things like how much you spend on garbage at the elementary school, or how much water do we spend on the fields? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's being tracked there, and it was a lot of work to get in. I thank you very much for it. And I guess that's all. Oh, the other thing I was going to mention, it if you're willing to, the people who provided public input, like I asked Kasha, I'd love to have a copy of what you said if you were willing to share it. Or I don't know if there's a way to get a copy of your son's tape.
It's on your email.
Of that tape?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it. Okay. Huh. Did that just come in today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, I know that we've been talking about WASDA conference. Did I dream something that you enrolled us already?
She did.
Okay, did you decide if you're able to go to that? Okay, did you enroll her into? Okay, perfect. Great, you're gone. So that'll be in November. Obviously, put that on your calendars. We had a lot of time talking at retreat. Thank you guys for putting in the energy in the day. Most of you. No. Just kidding. Yeah, I don't have a ton. We'll kind of get into a lot of that discussion as we go through. And I just did want to mention the policy that we approved in consent agenda tonight. The goal around the policy committee is to align our policies better with WASDA's model policies. And so tonight we had a huge list, sorry, Sherry, of policies that are just solely going to get renumbered to align with WASDA policies. Coupeville policies have been structured uniquely, I'll say. And so we want them to align with WASDA so that we can keep track of updates, we can keep track of language, we can keep track of laws. So the first step of that process was simply renumbering policies that didn't align with WASDA. And so there was a huge list that went in the consent agenda. And those types of easy changes will come in consent agenda, as conversation is needed around actual policy changes, and those may come in business. But we're gonna be working through those changes this year, so you'll see more things coming next month too. Okay. How about, yes,
Yeah, can I come back to me?
yeah.
I did mention the General Assembly
Yes,
for WASDA
thank you.
is
Yeah.
September 19th. And
Okay.
they have now published the handbook with the, with amendments that were allowed to be, changes to be made. So I'll be representing us there. And did everyone get does everyone get that handbook sent to them?
I don't know, I got it in my email, but I wasn't sure if that comes to everyone.
If
I
not, I'll-
definitely got some kind of notice about General Assembly. I'll be
Yeah.
honest, I didn't look closely enough.
Well, yeah,
There
I
was no
kind of get that, yeah.
So I think typically we need to go through and decide if we don't agree with
Yeah.
any of the stances that WASDA puts forward, so.
Because you'll be
There
representing.
are
them, yeah.
recommendations,
Yes.
up or down, and so if we disagree with what they have, we need to decide, so you can let me know. And I would say this I haven't actually looked at it after the amendments, but before that, there were more of those that I went, than previous years. It was sort of like, yeah, okay. It was almost a rubber stamp, but some of these this year are a little more, WASA maybe saying vote down, and it's like, well, or the other way. So I would encourage you to look at those.
So could we commit to, so I think our workshop, so the 19th is Saturday.
Right.
And our workshop is actually the 10th, so maybe we could add that to our workshop discussion, and then if
Yeah.
there is anything that we maybe need to bring forward.
Yeah.
So maybe you could send that out before, and then we could just have a conversation around that workshop.
I just searched up my email and
It was in there.
it definitely came as a direct link from Joe Greenherron, who's our
Oh,
local
right.
rep.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it came from anybody else.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Student board rep reports, anything?
I just want to say how excited us students are to come
Yeah.
back. I think, well, not all of us, but but we're excited to meet new teachers and everything. And you too, you're excited for this too.
Yes, very excited.
We're excited to kick back into the school year with the student or superintendent advisory committee. And this year we'll also have middle school along with us, or well, not with us, but yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Cool. Have you guys started activities already? Anything going? Yeah.
Not really, I still consider it summer.
Yeah.
A lot of
Thank you for
seconds
giving
school.
us your summer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Any questions for students? Okay.
How's the new start and stop time going over? Got any word on that? Anybody care?
Not very,
Not very well.
not,
Okay.
I don't think a lot of us want to start earlier. But once you actually explain the reason behind it, I think a lot more students are understanding, but there have definitely been a lot of whys.
Do a lot of explaining for us then.
Okay, I didn't have any correspondence this month unless I was incorrect. We had some today, but I'll put that on the next meeting since I didn't have time to put it into the report. We don't have any old business, so we'll move on to new business, and we'll start with item A, which is the OLDCC Community Noise Mitigation Program Progressive Design Built Procurement. Chris Mafori.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you very much for having us again tonight, and we are here to discuss and kind of present to you what's happened since the last time we had a conversation about it. Back in May, we got approved by the state's PRC to go after alternative design. Alternative delivery methods in the district chose to go with progressive design bill. Through the summer, we've been doing a solicitation starting back in June. It's about a 3-month process, and we're here to talk about results. It's taking a little bit of a given that some of the stars represent, so I'll make it brief. We got 6 respondents from very qualified firms, a lot of whom should be the district. We had a team of 4 members of the Coupeville School District, Coupeville Town of Coupeville, who were on the selection committee. Myself and Joshua Thomas stood as an advisor, but non-voting members of the committee. We had RFQs developed and delivered in July, which of the 6 respondents, 3 were invited to move forward to the RFP process, which was Bailey and Dykeman, Tiger and NEC, and Trigo and RNC. It was an actual, just timing was not great in the fact that we had a response, and we asked them to come back in less than 36 hours, and all 3 of these teams jumped to the occasion to show up. That was an amazing response. Not expecting really a couple of things. They showed up with plans, thoughts, ideas, brought us with some. I was really thinking about others. Did a good job getting into what the expectation response for the proposals were, which is the intent we weren't using it as an interview process. It was like a fact finder that for the responses. And everybody left with a really good feeling about the 3 teams. We asked for their submissions to be turned in on August 18th. So all 3 were put together, and the selection committee was brought together from the 1st to the final selection. Of the 3, Dykeman and Bailey and Dykeman ended up with a total of 88 points. Oh, I guess I should go over that. On the rubric conversation, practically 30% was all questions, 60% was the possible happening project, 10% of the total score was based mathematically on their validation fee that they took, which is the time. Plus the cost to check to make sure that all of these passed. You were planning on having just. And so that after we went through that process, we came up with Bailey and Dykeman came up with 88 points. Tiger and AC came up 105. Trigo and RNC came at 108. Less than a 15% swing between selection. That is a small. We've been some involved in some that were swinging by 30+%. So that was a good responses from companies that obviously knew what they were looking for, listened to the school district, listened to the concerns that were outlined by the LCC grant, the requirements for the federal government, and put forward a plan and convinced the school district and the selection committee that one company was the most applicable to selecting. At the end of the day, I realized that was their RFP price, and the final score was 188 to 160, and this is attached to the meeting minutes. Out of the 3, Trico and RMC stood out amongst the 3 opponents, 3 vendors and submitters. Trico is working in town. They have worked for the federal government in noise mitigation. They came in with a plan. They came in well organized. They knew exactly what we were looking for and how to be a partner and a teammate in the conversation of how these things would also affect the school. And that was a very big one, because they actually came up with an idea none of us had even thought was possible, and they put it on the table. Now, we don't want to say what those are until they're ready to actually address them. I don't want to actual direction to go. If it does, we'll see it in the validation conversation. This is approved. So the notes from the selection committee were they were well organized. Their team structure showed the new design build. They actually came in talking the talk. We didn't have to guide them further. They had very strong references for federal compliance. They worked with the town town actually they had references with the town and the region and working in and around the noise that we're doing. Oil emissions. Great. They had strong consideration what they were doing was going to affect the school and students. It wasn't just about federal grant. It was how do we do this and actually improve the environment of our school, high school. And so with that, we put together this report. I'll let them be available. And the selection committee is putting forward the recommendation to move forward with the progressive design build contract awarded to TRICO and RMC. And I look for the board to accept that recommendation. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks for working on this. I'm excited to see it start happening. There's obviously on our facility walkthrough, there's some needs there that need to be addressed. So this is going to address some of those things, and that's exciting. So I apologize that do you have any other questions?
The TRICO part of this, is that local to the island?
I believe they're maybe not towards the belt. So they're relatively local. The RMC, both of them have worked in town, with no cover, much of the better of the last 5 years. They actually did identify within it enough. Their methodology within progressive design was also tap in, make sure they give opportunities to work the whole process. It was one of the items that they showed that they had actually done the research, is thinking about it, and really paying attention to what matters to them.
Well, the TRICO heating and plumbing put in my heat pump about 10 years ago. I didn't know if that was the same. And they were local. They had at least they had an office on Goldie Road. I think it was.
They may have an office, but I was local.
Okay.
What would the potential start date be?
We would be looking at a subgroup. We would be looking at finalizing contract with percent of the work here in the next 30 days.
Okay.
Which they would start the validation process.
Okay.
Validation process would start in 4 months.
Okay.
Include them engaging.
Okay. So I apologize, the motion didn't get onto the new business agenda, but the motion would be that the contract for progressive design build would be awarded to, just as written up there. So.
I will move to award the contract for progressive design build to TRICO and RMC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to award the contract for progressive design build to be awarded to TRICO RMC. Any discussion? I'd like to take an advisory vote from our student board reps.
I'm glad the process is actually coming along. I agree with that. I'm happy to see it actually happening. See that we found someone that we think fits really well with it, and I like that they're gonna try to tie in some
Yeah, thank you. 2 yeas. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right, moving on to item B, which is approval of the 2026-27 board goals. I just want to sort of clarify in the board goals that the suggested items under the board goals are not part of what is being approved tonight. Those are hopefully that we can have a workshop later to talk about what the action steps would look like to make some progress on some of the goals. And the way that we kind of arrived at these this year was a lot of times through our self-evaluation. So we always do our self-evaluation prior to board retreat. And the self-evaluation is very much tied to the standards of being a school board director. So we looked at the self-evaluation in areas of where we're potentially weak or where we want to grow. And that includes impact feedback that we've heard, from our staff this past year. And so definitely, conversations around climate, around culture, around morale and those things. And I think, what you said was 100%, like, it's not one person that's going to move the needle on any of this work. And so as a team, we want to focus on that. I know that you're interested in focus on that. And it's like at every level of our school district, it's like we want to move, in a direction. And so there's goals that are aligned with those board standards, but also with the directions that we talked about at retreat with things that we want to go. So I know these are written in general. The hope is to put some action to them later. So, anything you want to add or discussion?
I did get a peek at the draft early, but
Yeah.
my specific recommendations, I guess, were just around wording. I think the idea,
I always need help with that.
the general idea of these 4 categories that we discussed at retreat. I think this will help us to grow as a board,
Yeah.
because that's the real intent of the board goals. And in fact, because of that, I'm a little iffy on some of them being heavy on the district level of work. But maybe we'll be able to really clarify that when we go to action steps to make sure that it's the work of the board to improve the work of the board.
Yeah.
That we're really focusing on with these goals. But otherwise, thank you for your work.
And I like the way that you've got it with the possible action measures. I mean, gives you time to think about it a little bit more, but still gives you the meat of it.
When we talked about SMART goals, measurable, specific, but it's like that's a little bit hard to do when you start to initially want to work through the idea, but then you want to talk about, well, what does that look like? And it's like, that isn't always one session worth of.
Well, so another way to think about it is
Yeah.
like the goal is big, it's
Yes.
aspirational. We
Yeah.
might not get there, but we'll be able to define what progress towards it looks like. And you're right, that's going to be a multi-session kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But we'll have it nailed down in time to actually get to work and not just talk about it all year. I guess I'll move to approve the board goals for 26, 27.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the board goals for 26, 27. Any discussion? Been had. At this time, we'll take an advisory vote from our student board reps.
I agree.
2 yeas. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And we'll move on to our next item, which is superintendent goals. So we've shifted our structure this year. Last year, WASDA came out with a new model for the superintendent evaluation, and that model is aligned to goals and aligned to the framework of being a superintendent. And so you'll see in the document that there are strategic level goals, there's district level goals, I have to look at it again.
Board and board.
Oh yeah, there's board level goals, and those would be our goals that we need the superintendent to help us with. Like maybe conducting a survey or like whatever that might be.
Operation.
Yeah. And then the next section of that is tied to goals that are not, they're aligned more with the standards of a superintendent, which is impactful instructional leadership, supportive climate for students, staff, and community, operations and management excellence, and values-based leadership. And so I guess this is our first year of transitioning to this new framework. And I would say it's a work in progress. We're trying to figure out what that looks like. And part of the challenge is that we don't have like strategic goals outside of the big goal or the big graduation goal. But like, that's something that we want to build on and build into. And so I would say that this is a work in progress. I think you did a good job putting, actionable items that we've been talking about and working on. And this is superintendent evaluation and goals are not to be limiting of this is the only work that you're accomplishing. It's saying these are those big things that we're working on this year and the things that are getting focus and energy. There's still all of the work of being superintendent. Anything you want to add to that? Any conversations y'all wanna have? Did you have?
I just wanted to say that in developing this, I appreciated the feedback from the board at our retreat. I recrafted some of that based on our feedback on that day, specifically on making sure the overarching goals for this year really looked at some of the specific things around our facilities, our strategic plan, making sure that we're looking at our new strategic plan and getting that underway. But then also going into the building capacity and shared leadership. And that's one of the big pieces that we are striving for, and working with organizations in that to help support our teams. And then finally, just, navigating the grants, the big grants that are coming in and the bond potential and some of those bigger items. So thank you for your input and all of that.
Yeah. Any comments or ready for a motion? Yes, ma'am.
Just so I'm gonna invite, the input we had tonight from the CEA, this would be an opportunity for you to review these things and provide additional comments of what you might want to make sure that the board and the superintendent are working on. So we welcome that input.
And I think that throughout the goals, there's opportunities to get input from all of our stakeholders, like we don't
Yes,
pretend
there is.
to know what these things look like and how they play out. And so that communication piece is really important to know how to make progress with all of these things. So absolutely.
We as the liaison to our community
Yeah.
are trying to give direction that the superintendent can best follow and that we can hold her accountable to. And the feedback that we get all the way along is how we know what to prioritize.
Is there a motion?
I'm going to approve the 2026-2027 superintendent goals.
Second.
That's been moved and seconded to approve the 2026-2027 superintendent goals. Any discussion? Additional discussion? Okay. Take an advisory vote from our student board reps.
I agree.
Okay. 2 yays. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And next item is approval of the 2026-2027 board calendar. We're keeping our meeting structure the same. So the last Thursday of the month, we talked about potentially moving it, and then we're gonna keep the workshops as 2 weeks prior to give enough time for the staff to prep to go into meeting and to plan for workshops. So that's the same as this year. No changes.
I move to approve the 2026-27 board calendar.
Been moved and seconded to approve the 2026 board calendar. Any discussion?
Nicely put together.
Sherry, that was Sherry. Or Shannon, somebody. All right, no other discussion. I'll take an advisory vote from our student board reps.
Works for me.
Okay, thanks. We're excited to have you there.
All these meetings.
All right, 2 yays. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And last is approval of resolution 2026-16, which is National Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. And we've made a practice of approving these resolutions every month to honor different groups of students and staff and community members who contribute to our district. And it goes in alignment with our equity policy that was read tonight in honoring and celebrating diversity. So there you go.
Yeah, so September 15th through October 15th is recognizing National Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month. So we made sure that you put that resolution in your packet tonight and also our docs.
Well, and it has been a joy to walk through our schools to see the bulletin boards, celebrating each of the different months, and I love that. So yeah, appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, is there approval?
I move to approve resolution 2026-16, recognizing National Hispanic Latino Heritage Month.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2026-16, National Hispanic Latino Heritage Month. Any discussion? Take an advisory vote from our student board reps.
Sounds great. Sounds amazing.
Thank you so much. It's been moved and seconded, 2 yeas. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. And that adjourns our meeting. Thank you so much for being here.